you know what happens is that when we decided on the why, we will be able to figure out the how.
Right.
And that's what matters, like
Yes.
knowing that and knowing how to do it. So the change of action is because of the change of mindset.
Yeah.
And investment is different from insurance.
Oh, yes, 100%. Common yan yung mga two-in-one.
Concept of love, like if you really love your family, if you really love your next generation, you won't be depending yourself
Yes,
on
yes.
your
You
future
you
to
wouldn't want to
them.
bother them kind of
Exactly.
thing, right?
Almost 47% of Filipinos dealt with cryptocurrency at least once. It's because, again, let's go back where we want to go out of this poverty and like switch to being rich. Looking at this social media post that I made it, fake it till you make it.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to the Global Pinoy podcast once again. It's Rico, and today is a very special day because we have a guest, Miss China Barachina, a certified securities representative, portfolio manager, and a business strategist with over 20 years of experience in the financial markets. She's led major projects like Marge, The Navigator, and G Stocks PH, and formerly hosted Follow the Money on Bilyonaryo TV. So, welcome, Miss China.
Hi, thank you for having me here in this episode. Hi, guys. Hi, Global
The
Pinoy.
Global Pinoy podcast. So, tell us about yourself. What's your background? How did you come about the?
All right. So I was in the BPO industry for over 8 years, and then I was in my dream job, and then it was a multinational company, oil industry, and then I encountered a talk about stock market and the financial literacy, and I realized even my dad is a banker. We ended up investing in a wrong investment scheme. We ended up being a victim of pyramiding. And I realized how low financial literacy of the Filipinos are. I jump off to being in my dream job, have a pay cut of 35%, and went to what that guy was doing during the time that I was watching him. So I transferred to the financial industry, and it was my calling. And little did people know that I always tell that na nandito ako because we were a victim. Even though you in the Philippines, even if you are a banker, hindi ka makakalusot. It's always a struggle of Filipinos, and I've seen how important that is. And if I understand numbers, and I will be able to relate it to the Filipino people and how they can change the mindset. And so I attend to that calling, and started being a relationship manager for the biggest online trading platform back then. And because of that experience, and having the experience of being in the leadership team, outsourcing company, I was pirated from another broker to head their online, and then another broker to the other. And that made me given a chance to develop two types of products or investing strategies in the stock market, because I know they're wise, and I know how it led it to that question, bakit hindi sila invested?
So, you mentioned that you were a victim of financial pyramid.
It's an investment scheme called pyramiding. It was very popular back in the early 2000s, I think. And a lot of people in the Philippines, I've realized, they're so easy to be persuaded by get rich quick scheme.
Get rich.
Imagine having a 3.5% every month in your investment, and which is in reality, you will realize saan ba nila ini-invest yung pera. And then just goes to show na if wala nang magpasok ng pera sa pyramiding, they'll end up having wala nang kikitain, kasi it's just like a matter of getting from the new investors yung kita, and not realizing ano ba talagang avenues of right investing pattern, or what are the instruments or proper instrument of investment. And I think that's what Filipinos needs in terms of being investing in the right avenue and the right way. Imagine
like those regulated investment schemes.
exactly.
Diba,
And you have to realize that, you know, when I started in the stock market, only 1% of the Philippine population is invested in the stock market. And not to realize that up to now, 2020, at least running 2023, only 45% of Filipino adults are actually having savings account or formal savings. And thanks to like e-wallets like GCash and digital banks, that
Right.
it increased significantly.
Right.
And alam mo ba yung reason doon is because the age demographics of the Philippines is actually in perfect pyramid, meaning to say that our working population is ranging from 25 years old, which is the biggest in the pyramid, going up to the oldest, which is the peak. And because they are also inclined with technology, those kids that have found out a way to be in the digital banks open an account that significantly increased the number of having a Filipino having a savings account. But imagine 5 years ago when they were still in college, only probably 35%.
Yeah, they're probably saving their money
savings.
in like some box, diba?
Yes.
But what could be the challenge why kung bakit ganito yung mindset ng Pilipino before? Na instead of opening, say, a savings account in the bank, they decide to, save in another way that is, I would say, more traditional.
Ikaw I mean, you didn't grow up sa Philippines, but if you are in a regular Filipino household, the audience would will be able to relate to this. Napag-usapan nyo ba sa hapagkainan or sa when you're eating, like on a lunch over dinner, what investment is about?
Yes.
It's not a regular conversation that you're gonna have. Growing up, I would know that Filipinos will have a term of investment if they have a piece of land, kung meron silang alahas, kung meron silang binili na something na mahal. Like for example, they bought a nice car. O kaya narinig mo na ba to? Binili ko yan kasi investment naman
kasi
yan.
gagamitin ko yan sa trabaho. Anyway,
Oh,
may mga ganun galawan,
may
diba?
ganyan.
Yes,
So, hindi talaga na-emphasize sa Filipino household kung ano talaga ang investment. And sometimes, sad to say, a lot will be living on paycheck to paycheck. Like, ito yung sweldo, entrega ko to. Walang natitira to put on a savings kasi hindi tayo prepared in that kind of mindset.
A little bit of a fun fact, guys. Globally, when you buy a brand new car, the moment you ride it out the dealership, it's minus 20% off na kaagad. Minus 20%
In the
agad yung
resale
resale value. So, when you say that car is your investment, the way they see this is, binili yung kotse or yung motor. Sabihin natin, mas madali yung motor. Siyempre, binili yung motor. Sasabihin, gagamitin ko yan for delivery. So, that's bringing income to me, diba? In spite of the purchase, diba? So, to them, that's a form of investment. So, do you think that's a form of investment?
Okay. It is important for us to really identify what an investment is, what a capital is, and what a business is. So, in terms of financing, an investment in the textbook is something that you allocate to have a passive income growth, meaning from that point that you have set aside that money, it appreciates, umataas yung value niya. In terms of, sinabi mo kanina, binili ang motor because it will incur income. That is not a type of investment. Because if you are managing something with operations, at business yan. So this is something that you have to manage and run. If you have to manage it and run it, and there is an incurring cost on a monthly basis, then that's a business. Then it's not the same as investment. And there's another leg, which is like the capital. If you put in the money for that type of business, then you're putting in capital, kahit whether or not involved ka sa operations or not. So an investment should just, in a way, it's something passive. A right investment is you buy it now with, for example, value of 1 peso, but in years time it will be 10 pesos. if you are buying, say for example, what you said, a car that when once it takes off, it will be 20% less of a
Mm.
value, then
Mm.
it's not anymore an investment
Yeah, yeah.
because it doesn't answer the question, does it appreciate?
Kasi most of the time, it even becomes a liability because not
Exactly.
everybody would pay for it full. You know, they would
Yes.
use loans, may interest pa yung loans,
Yes.
etc.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, brings us back to like, pag, when you say investments, it should be something na hindi mo na iisipin, right?
Yep.
Something that is passively growing for you without you
Exactly.
having to work for it. But that's really, those are insightful knowledge that we're getting from you.
Mm-hmm.
But what sparked you to have this mission to to help educate Filipinos to have about financial
Mm-hmm.
markets?
When some, some of the things that is on the side, I love how I'm patriotic in nature
Mm.
and I love to be a Filipino, but it's I always put a sad face whenever there is a notion of poverty that yung nakakabit sa pangalan ng
Filipino,
Filipinos,
yes, yes,
'di ba?
I
Merong
can feel that.
because there is a significant poverty issue.
Mm.
And the reason why is the way we were brought up. We were not brought up to become business owners. We are brought up to become
Employees,
employees.
yes.
That mindset is that if I can have a significant thing that I want to be as a legacy, it's like I change their mindset. Therefore, I will change their ways of spending.
Mm.
I'll change their future.
Mm.
One of the taglines that I developed in one of the brokerages that I headed was "Start Your Future Now,"
Start your future now.
and the other one is "Better Your Tomorrow."
Mm.
So, if better your tomorrow is the main goal of why I'm doing all of these things.
Mm.
It might be related to MyTrade, which I'm associated with, but better your tomorrow means like your current household to the next generation should be better.
Yes, yes, yes,
And that's
yes.
what we want to achieve in terms of
Mm.
having this kind of
Yes.
advocacy.
You know what? I remember something. I'm in the some of you guys, many of you guys know already. I'm in the wealth management space, and you know what? I'm not trying to discriminate on the race, all right?
Mhm.
But I have multiple of clients from coming from different
Of course.
backgrounds,
Yeah.
and ang napansin ko sa mga Pinoy versus sa mga Chinese,
Mhm.
ang Chinese kahit walang asawa at anak, iniisip nila yung legacy nila. Yeah.
That's very
Iniisip nila like
interesting.
I'm like even I myself, I'm in the wealth
Mhm.
management
Mhm.
space. I
Mhm.
have 3 kids,
Mhm.
and as much as I want to think about my kids' future,
Mhm.
I want
Mhm.
them also to experience the hardship and go through the to experience the path towards success
Yeah.
themselves, right? But sa mga Chinese, walang anak, walang kahit sino. Gusto ko pag ako namatay na, yung itong investment na to, it has to go to someone, maybe a charitable organization or my parents, anyone, as long as maalala ako, you know.
See the
Right.
cultural
Yes,
difference
yes, yes, that's
and
right.
how things are brought up.
Mm.
And that's why I really admire Filipino Chinese communities because they're the ones giving assertiveness when it comes
Yeah.
to like confidence in
Yeah.
investing, especially in the stock market. A lot of like business owners
Mm.
in the Philippines are Filipino Chinese, and
Yeah.
it was like adaptation of how they bring it. Meron
Yeah.
pa nga sinasabi na we are brought up in the Chinese way, and that's
Yeah.
it's a positive
Yeah.
thing, huh? And I would, if there's something that I would like to adopt, because we have been colonized for 100 years by
Mm.
by
Different nations, yeah.
different nations, and sometimes there are a lot of things that we have learned and we didn't unlearn
Mm-mm,
that
mm-mm.
grow over the culture. And sad to say, because there is a significant, will go a bit beyond history,
Mm-mm.
with the history,
Yes,
diba?
yes,
We were slaves at one point,
yes.
and that mindset has not given us the advantage of thinking about
Yeah.
legacies
Kaya
because
nananatili tayo
it
na
was a survivor mode.
nananatili tayo na manggagawa yung mindset,
Yes,
not
exactly.
everybody.
So
A perfect example of the person that you uh, described, Filipino Chinese, who's super business, si Kuya Carl. Direct, si Kuya Carl, di ba? Ganun yung mindset niya. Oh. So, ngayon, we're talking about cultures now, right? So what I'm gathering is your culture can also be equal to how you deal with money,
Yeah,
right? The
it's
relationship with money.
important to understand who we are
Yes.
and why we are like this. Kung
Mm.
bakit ang baba ng percentage ng population natin na invested sa kahit anong investment instrument.
Mm.
And sad to say, they even consider savings account as an investment. But
Savings account is an investment.
Yes, exactly. Ganito yan. May savings naman ako, okay na yan. Like,
Ah.
just imagine inflation. If the inflation runs around 4 to 5% annually and you have a 1% savings account, and sasabihin mo, safe yon, hindi mo alam or you don't realize that nananakawan ka ng panahon.
Inflation pa nga eh, di ba?
4% every year. How can that be so safe?
Right,
So,
right,
di ba?
right.
Parang, and I feel sad about it if you're not aware that that's how it goes. It's really sad. That's why, having this type of conversation, having this kind of channel really gives us like a difference in making our tomorrow better.
10 years ago, naalala ko ang fast food na burger is 150 pesos lang. I recently visited the Philippines, 250 pesos.
Yes.
Yung mga sahod, hindi naman nagtaasan.
Exactly.
So that's how inflation bites you. But ngayon, culture, what are the common myths about investing na meron tayong mga Pilipino?
Ayun nga, as mentioned a while ago, savings account is investment daw. Buying something smartphones, naka-latest iPhone 16, iPhone 15, every year nagpapalit, kasi investment naman yan. But is it really
How
an
is
investment?
It an investment in a way, right?
So, ang mahirap na kailangan nating maintindihan is like, if something that you bought depreciates, it's not an investment. It might be a tool for your business, but that is not an investment. Investment is something that you keep and that will appreciate or incur dividends. It's just two things that how you will earn on investment. And pag hindi mo naintindihan yon, hindi mo alam kung tama ba yung pinaglalagyan ng pera mo. And that's supposedly the main thing that you have to know starting all of these things.
Besides culture, di ba? What could be other reasons why Filipinos are not investing? Kasi napakaunting percentage ng nag-invest sa Pilipinas.
Yep.
Yeah. What could be other reasons why?
They're scared because they're scared of uncertainty or unfamiliarity. They were not exposed to investing. Alam mo, since I'm here in Singapore, I've noticed the ads sa MRT, sa subway. You are putting an ad on like capital of a certain fund and how is the annual growth rate of a certain fund. And you will see on the buses and like on the waiting station trading platforms. You can't see that on like in the Philippines.
Sa Pilipinas, puro artista sa politiko yung nakikita dun eh.
We are built within emotion and like association with any influencer. So you will see dun pa lang sa ads that we see outside, nakikita mo na yung maturity of someone. And I think that we still have a lot of room for growth in that sense.
With Filipinos not being exposed to proper investments, right, the financial markets, what could be a potential problem naman na pwede nating ma-face as a race, in the future?
Not actually in the future, but just now, we are seeing a lot of get-rich-quick scheme. I have a heart with the OFWs. When I developed this product called Marge, we were targeting OFWs not for them to invest in the wrong financial instrument. Alam mo ba yung tipong na yung nanggaling yung puso mo na pinaghirapan nila, wala sila sa pamilya nila, and they've been spending ang daming pagtitiis. But only when they retire, when they go back, wala silang ipon because they didn't invest properly.
Yes.
So that is like, may soft spot ako sa kanila to be able to for them to learn and where to put their money. Kasi ang notion ng mapagbigay tayong mga Pilipino, pag meron tayong kinita, bigay.
Bigay agad, yes.
Bigay agad. Para kasi kailangan nating makita na may ngiti sa mga mukha ng pamilya.
Natin, which is good actually.
It is a good virtue, but to a fault.
Yeah.
So we have to identify. There was one ad in Indonesia that I've seen. It's like it's in a wedding setting, and sinasabi ng magulang nila what they want to impart to their kids. And and what they said there is that I will focus on myself, so I won't be dependent to my kids.
Sandwich generation kind of thing.
Exactly. So parang sabi ko, wow, it might be offensive here in the
Mm.
settings that we have,
Yeah,
that
sa
we grew up
Philippines, yeah.
in. Yeah. So, ganun dapat mag-isip.
Right,
Kasi
right.
sometimes we're too modest and too loving that sometimes we don't realize that you have to take care of yourself, so you won't be
Right.
relying on the
Mm.
next generation naman. So, kasi it's accepting millennials, Gen X, nasa atin yung mga parents natin, growing old. We can't even, sometimes we don't have the heart to put them on a
Home for
for
the
the
aged,
aged,
yeah.
because we feel like we are neglecting them, which is a really good virtue. But you have also, I later on in life, you will realize that you also have to build something, because you don't want to have that same, I mean, you will be worried about what's going to happen if you're not actively earning income. So if you love them, if you really, the concept of love, like if you really love your family, if you really love your next generation, you won't be depending yourself
yes,
on
yes.
your
You
future
you
to
wouldn't want to
them.
bother them kind of thing,
Exactly.
right?
Like you have
Yeah,
kids, right?
yeah.
And you are building this not just for the sake that you have to pass it on like this another generation, but you also don't want to be dependent
Yes,
to
yes,
them. Is
yes,
that
yes. That's right.
how?
Yeah. You know what? You mentioned that you have a soft spot for these Filipinos or OFWs. I would say, I have the same thing because mainly my clientele here in Singapore are OFWs, and I met someone who's been in Singapore for 30 years now, right?
Wow, 30
And then
years.
he's in his late 50s. He's in the engineering sector. Yes.
Mm,
So
which is a good
it's a good
industry.
industry, super good industry. But the thing is, 30 years ng life niya, working life niya
Mm-hmm.
abroad. And
Mm-hmm.
his kids
Mm-hmm.
are about my age, 30s na.
Mm-hmm.
So it means na yung pagtanda ng mga anak niya, he wasn't there. He wasn't there
Exactly.
most of the time. And I think the reason why Filipinos go abroad is because of leverage. Kasi sa abroad, yung sahod mas mataas.
Mm-hmm.
Pag sa Pilipinas, hindi naman ganun, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then now that this guy, this particular client, he he's been in Singapore, hindi ang problem niya why he couldn't go back home is that when he goes back home, the income is not as high,
You
and the
cannot
life,
find the
yeah,
same
yes, and
income.
his lifestyle hindi niya ma-afford hindi niya ma-afford yung lifestyle ng family niya. Now,
Oh my gosh, hindi niya ma-afford ang lifestyle.
yeah,
They cannot even like go down na kasi it's really hard.
nandun eh. So, binigyan natin siya ng solution, which is nga sa investments. So what we did is we gave him a 5-year time horizon na yung market cycle lang. And then ang goal niya is by the time he's 50
How old is
58.
he now?
Now he's 58, nakauwi na to. But this was 53 siya 5 years ago when I met him. Nagbuo kami ng capital. Nag-invest kami. Usual stuff, S&P. Nung naabot namin yung capital niya, 'di ba? Yung capital niya. Then dinividends namin 'yun.
So in what you're saying, I want to go back to what changed his mind in doing
Right.
that.
I mean, he realized that, hindi naman forever na nasa Singapore siya. You see. And his kids are starting to have children.
So the change of action is because of the change of mindset.
Yeah.
And that's what I would want to impart. Being in this industry, it
Yeah.
is a sacrifice. Because if I'm just gonna go back to my usual multinational company, I would be given the chance to travel, to like get all of this like benefits. So being in this is like a small sacrifice in terms of like making them aware of what they should be doing. And I'm so happy that right now, kids as young as college students, last time I just talked, like the other week, I was able to talk to a university in the Philippines, like top university in the Philippines, and they're engineering students, and they to know stock market as early as this age. So given that we have that kind of concept in the probably Gen X and Boomer generation in the Philippines, you will be happy naman to find out that the generation coming in is already aware of it.
Right,
And we
right.
are already starting. That's why there might be a significant shift in terms of statistics in how many people are invested, because we are already exposed. The good advantage of the Philippines is actually our age group right now. The most populated is the working population. So it was the age group is around 25 years old on average working, and they are the biggest in terms of like working population, meaning itong mga to which is open to technology, which is open to different kinds of like investment, they're the ones working now, and they will be the ones to build it 10-20 years down the road.
Yeah, earlier when we were talking about, diba, something blew my mind. You mentioned that in a span of 10 years, mas marami pa yung na-expose sa crypto kaysa sa nag-save.
Yes, you wouldn't believe that.
Yeah, the viewers would like to hear that.
Yeah. So we are like running 45% in the population, total population of the Philippines that have savings account. Not even savings. Because in a household, there's just 32% in the household that has savings, monthly savings. And it's funny because in the last 10 years, almost 47% of Filipinos dealt with cryptocurrency at least once. So, kita mo yung trajectory and speed. It's because, again, let's go back where we want to go out of this poverty and like switch to being rich. Looking at this social media post that I made it, fake it till you make it. Like, going to the it's our number of hours on average for social media for Filipinos is 8 hours per day. Imagine
Parang
that.
full-time job, no?
Exactly. And you wouldn't believe, that's why, hindi nyo ba nakikita na a lot of content creators, foreign content creators are always mentioning Filipinos because it's gonna shoot up their views. We are being used for them to earn. Imagine. So, in that sense, and we see a lot, syempre, ibo-broadcast mo ba sa media yung something that challenges you? You wouldn't. You would broadcast something that is your achievement. Or if we fake it till we make it nga na mentality, you will be able to see like manifesting, diba? And sometimes it gives you like depression. And when you see a scheme, oh, get rich quick to, 45% in a day.
Oof.
I'll start with that. That's where we are hooked in terms. And then we'll end up losing everything.
It. Usually nagbo-blow yung account. Ganun yung nangyayari. Yun nga, yung culture natin, we like to make money fast, you see? Without actually, I mean, possible naman if you time the crypto, you time a stock right or a cryptocurrency right, may possibility. But how knowledgeable are you
to do it?
Yeah, to do it.
Alam mo, maraming nagsasabi na, oh, I know how to trade na alam ko kapag ang trader bago. They will be so high and mighty speaking about trading. But then if I will talk to someone who's been trading for like 3 decades now, they are so humble and like so like we don't know what's gonna happen. It's because the cycle of the market mas malaki na yung nakita nila.
Yes.
And it's funny how this like cryptocurrency, I'm not against it. In fact, I am a believer of it. We are decentralizing everything in the world right now, and it's something that we want to have as an exchange of fiat, but not necessarily like totally disengaging on fiat and going to digital currency. But I believe in all the possible opportunities as long as you manage the risk or you calculate it. And it brings you a better mindset. But on how you do it and how you shift, on how you allocate, these are the things that you want to consider, like your age range, the liquidity of an investment, liquidity when it comes to like switching it to cash.
Yes.
So kapag nag-invest ka, if it's a high return, you should always think that it's always a high risk. High risk is equal to return. It's always that way. So if you are willing to risk 100,000 pesos in a day, then you can go ahead and risk that because that might be the return. But if you cannot sleep at night knowing that that's going to be gone, then don't do
It
it.
only means you're investing too much of what you can
Yes.
invest.
So in
Yes.
terms of like investing, switching mindset. So okay, you decided, I believe in the 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle, but 80% should be in mindset. Why are you doing this? Is it for long term? Is it for short term? Is it for something that you want to play with in terms of investment lang ang paglalaroan natin, wag emotion. But you know what happens is that when we decided on the why, we will be able to figure out the how.
Right.
And that's what matters, like
Yes.
knowing that and knowing how to do it.
So what when I engage my clients, right? So let's talk about hows, right? Of course, part of investing is you must set aside a budget, when it that you will expose to the markets, right? So we have this thing called the 6 jars money management. So part of that is merong FFA.
Yan ba yung kay T. Harv Eker?
Oo, yun.
It's actually 7.
7?
Yeah, 7. I don't know if that's I mean, I know the official is 6, but I made it 7. 7 jars for Filipinos lang yan.
Okay.
Kasi I think when you say the 6 jars, it's your necessity. Diba yun yung mga
FFA mo, financial freedom, yung investment account mo. 10%.
Oh, yan. So yan yung mga kailangan mo parang i-put aside mo as investment, diba? And then may tinatawag kang
yung long-term savings.
Oh, yan. So yung ano yung mga composition mo ng long-term
long-term savings, like yung mga sudden na kailangan mo bayaran, like nasira yung fridge mo, your car broke down, doon mo kukunin.
Okay, so in my version of that, I separate the emergency fund and the long-term savings. Kasi yan yung mga nasira, hindi mo expected. Meron kang tire repair, ganyan, nabutas yung gulong, nandun yan sa emergency fund. Pero pag may gusto kang purchase, like for example, gusto mo ng kotse or gusto mo ng iPhone 17 or 18, meron ka ng jars, tinatabi mo yun longer. Ito talagang gagalawin mo lang siya pag may emergency.
May nangyaring unexpected.
Yes. And then another one is like what's your the next?
I also have yung edu account, which is self-improvement. Pero sa akin, ginawa ko siyang business account. That's where my business funds are coming.
So yeah, it's the same thing. Education, self-improvement. If you have seminars you want to attend to, special classes.
May play account ka rin ba? Yung waldas na pera?
Yes. So this is
how many percent?
This is really good. It's usually 5 to 10 depending sa income mo. But this is important. You shouldn't neglect play account. You know why?
Why?
Marami sa ating Filipinos breadwinners, yan ang mga nagsusupply. Alam mo ba ang tendency? Ito ang Achilles heel ng mga breadwinners. I feel deprived, so I'm gonna splurge this. If you don't have a percentage on splurging, you'll end up overspending. You will end up getting a credit card. You will end up paying the minimum bill. I mean, I'm not going high and mighty. Even I was once a breadwinner, and I felt this. I felt into a trap of paying credit card upon credit card. Yung sweldo mo, pambayad mo na lang ng credit card. It's in reality. So it's something. If you just think of it, if you're starting now and you're splurging, pag na-splurge mo na yan, tapos na. So hindi ka mag-go beyond what your splurging account is. And it is important in the psychology of spending and psychology of money, because at the end of the day, that's human behavior. It's inevitable. And then the last, what's your last?
Bibili na akong bagong Rolex.
I think sa long term yan.
Long term, depende naman sa
ganun pala yung play jar mo pa. Grabe, may pwedeng Rolex, ha?
Yung play jar ko usually, actually, I'm not really a watch person kasi I'm more of a vehicle person. So, I've got a car, minumod ko yan, yung mga exhaust, I've got a Harley Davidson.
So, that's your play.
Ayun yung play ko. But, actually, you're right na dapat winawaldas yun. Pero sa situation ko, ang magwawaldas niya si Mrs.
Splurge. Alam mo, actually, good thing you mentioned that. Ang mga binat or single people, they splurge it on dates, they splurge it on like video games, they splurge it on different things that like, just, make, para lang mawala yung stress, distressing. So, in terms of like, pag sinabi ng long term na or may savings ka na dapat, medyo mataas na. Like, it doesn't, have to be something that you can spend like on a month's time. Kasi monthly din naman yan, di ba? It's how you incur your money on a frequency. Pero yung last mo, ano yung last mo?
Gift.
Yes.
Gift.
So
5% yun.
So gift is like charity.
Not necessarily like gift, like for example, mag-birthday yung anak mo. So that's where you're, pwede ring tithing sa church. Doon ang gagaling yung nilalagay sa tithes.
Yeah, in those people, like...
Ay, sorry. Doon ko din kinukuha yung mga nangungutang.
Alam mo, tama ka doon. Like, pero huwag mo sabihin sa kanila.
Of course, of course.
Pero ngayon, nasabi mo
okay
na.
lang.
Alam mo
pero huwag kayo uutakan.
Alam mo yung when it comes to like, I believe in the universal law, like the law of reciprocity.
Yes.
If you smile, someone will smile back. And the last jar that we both are mentioning is actually when you are, you know, you believe in the higher power, you believe in giving back. If like pag sinabi nga binigay mo siksik-liglig at umaapaw na babalik sa'yo, di ba? But and also in terms of like, look at the people who are like in this, that are rich or they give a lot.
Yung mga charitable organizations.
They give a lot. So I believe in that. So I make sure that is the last jar, that you don't neglect them. Kasi you're actually managing your risk.
Yes, and that's
that way.
That's the money that I'm willing to lose nang hindi masasayang yung friendship namin.
Which is also the best way in managing your investment. If you're gonna invest something, you should invest long term. Therefore, you must think that you have to set aside something that you are willing to lose without having, you know, receiving anything in return. And that's the best mindset to put in your investment.
Speaking of which, yung money management natin, there's a 10%, sa akin kasi 10% or 20% ng income.
10 to 20, yes.
Pinang-i-invest, di ba? So, what do you think in your opinion is the simplest but the best way to, you know, to set aside that, to invest that 10%?
So there is such a thing as like 100 minus your age. So if you have a savings account of 20% in what you're receiving, that 20%, your age, for example, you're 30 years old, 100 minus 30, 70% of it can go to a high risk, high return investment. So meaning to say, as young as you are, you can put allocation to different investment with a high risk, high return yield. And then if later in time, when you are like on your 60 years old, then you lessen the not so liquid type of investment. So meaning to say, yung savings mo na yon, hahatiin mo pa yon. Like, and that's where we call the asset allocation. You put it in equities, you put it on bonds, you put it, but here's the thing, investment is different from insurance.
Oh yes, 100%. Common yan eh, yung mga 2-in-1.
Yes.
Common yan. What do you think about these kind of contracts?
What I think is that if your goal is investing, then just go investing.
Don't mix it, you know.
If your goal is protection is a totally different thing. So I am not a fan of investment with insurance with investment.
Same here, same.
I want the division. Ito na naman, balik na naman tayo sa mindset. Ang Filipinos love smartphones.
They love value meal.
All in one. So, not knowing that they're paying more by doing that. Like, by not thinking they're paying more premiums. And that premium doesn't go to their pocket in the long run. It goes to the ones that's managing it.
Yeah. Grabe. Oo. This is something that I can really, you know, I can relate to because strong advocacy kasi ako. I mean, I came from that line of work kasi. So, I realized something na yung mga ganyang contracts kasi. You're not just paying for the management fees. You're also paying for the insurance cost then, which grows habang tumatanda ka. So, naapektuhan mismo yung investment value mo. Yeah. But, yung 10% na yon, how do you, you know, we have this thing called dollar cost averaging. Do you call it the same in the
In
Philippines?
terms of how you start investment, I
Uh,
think this is what you're mentioning.
yes.
So, maraming tao, paano nga ba tayo magsisimula? Okay,
Mm.
na-change ko na yung mindset ko. This is, how do we start? And sometimes you are so afraid. Remember that most Filipinos are afraid to start because they might lose it.
Mm.
And hindi naman necessary. I believe in something that what you call is start small.
Okay.
Okay, in the Philippines, it's called the peso cost averaging,
Mm.
wherein when you time them, you don't need to time the market because actually you can never time the market.
Yes,
You'll
yes,
never know
yes,
what's gonna
exactly,
happen next.
exactly.
So in terms of like putting in again your monthly receiving monthly, you should be saving monthly and you should also investing monthly.
Monthly.
And that is something that hindi naman tayo parang sila Henry C. Hindi naman tayo para sila Gokong Wei. They are like the billionaires that has one time that they can they can put an investment and just manage my fund. We're not like that. So as a regular Filipino citizen, you have to start small and build it. There's a book written by Brother Bo Sanchez, if you're familiar with him.
Yes, yes, yes.
My maid invested in the stock market, and why shouldn't you? So I might be saying that the thing wrong, Tito Bo. Sorry about that. I know him personally. That's why I was able to mention it. But his maid had that same principle of cost averaging. Alam mo ba na milyonaryo yung maid na yan?
So
Na-
it seems like talagang discipline talagang
Discipline. Again, mindset, 80%.
mindset. Yes, yes.
So you
yes.
have to do those things and be consistent in doing it. Because at the end of the day, 5 years, 3 years down the road, if you choose the right investment, say for example in the Philippine setting, stock market is really good when it comes to like 10 to 13% return. But if you choose the right brokerages with the right brokerage with the right research team, you might end up having it double on a year's time. And it's something over promising, yes, but it happens. It's not impossible. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, investment should actually be part of your financial ecosystem talaga eh.
Exactly.
Yeah. So without investing, you're basically setting yourself up to work
Disaster.
forever. Work forever, which is kind of like a disaster because at one point you cannot work anymore.
Yep.
You have
yep.
no choice.
Yeah.
Diba?
Yep.
So, ganun ka-importante ang pag-i-invest.
As you age, when you
Yeah.
hit like in the age of 40, you'll realize sumasakit na yung balakang mo, nagkaka-arthritis ka na, it's starting, your body's starting to age and you cannot like, di mo na kayang magpuyat like you used to. So it also equates to how yung work effort mo gano'n na lang up until what time na lang.
But is that really what everybody wants to do, right?
Diba? Hindi eh.
No
So,
way, no way. Is there anything that you would like to share to the viewers in terms of this?
You know, if there's something that ang dami natin pinag-usapan right now, di ba? Parang there are a lot of things that we need to unlearn in the past because of our culture differences, because of how we are brought up as a family. But knowing the problem is solving 50% of that challenge. And knowing these things applies to, merong sumikat, I don't know if you know him, his name is Ernie Baron.
Ernie Baron, yeah, yung
like is a forecaster, di ba? Knowledge is power. He always say
knowledge
that.
is power, yes, it does.
But you know, in reality, the power only begins when you apply the knowledge. If there's one thing that they want to impart today that will make a change in their life and then the life of the next generation, is for them to start now.
Start investing now. Ayun yung point ng podcast na to. Start investing now. Or else...
There is a sense of urgency. Like, we are not hard selling here, but you know, the sense of urgency is that for a person who is 18 years old that starts building cost averaging or putting money every month for 5 years versus a 40-year-old who just started investing pero dahil mas mataas na yung posisyon niya, he can invest triple of what the 18-year-old has been investing and spends time in terms of like up until he's 60, you will be surprised that kahit huminto na yung 18 years old after 5 years or 10 years, the money will grow at the same age, at 75. If you will compute both of their investment, the 18-year-old, even if he stops early,
Mm.
it will grow because of the
Compound
compounding.
interest and time. Syempre, time is... Sabi nga ni Warren Buffett is
Time is your ally.
time in the market
Is
beats timing the
in the
market. So just
time
stay
in the market
invested.
yet.
Yeah. So sa ating mga Pilipino, a few key takeaways here is, every Filipino investor, to be able to start this, you must have the right mindset. And of course, without mentioning, yung guidance. So you have to look for the right mentors. You have to look for the
Exactly.
right people to subscribe to instead na
And the
mag-scroll ka
right
ng TikTok.
companies.
Right companies, of course. Yes,
Mhm.
right companies, right fund managers, and all that. Thank you for watching the Global Pinoy podcast, and we hope that we've provided value to you and your family. Stay safe.